I'm gonna log into. Make sure. Good evening, everyone. Buenas tardes, and welcome to today's special presentations here in the city of Moreno Valley. I want to welcome you on this somewhat rainy day. Thank you for joining us. Everybody watching at home, thank you for tuning in as well. And today, I want to talk a little bit briefly about the proclamation that we'll be presenting, and you'll hear from some important community members here in just a moment as well. But I want to start off with language is such an intricate part of our daily lives and a necessary skill that most of us, or some of us actually, might take for granted, or we don't really even think about it. You know, we just wake up in the morning and we say good morning to our loved ones and our family, but there's a lot of history around the world and struggles of people that haven't had, if we can call it that, privilege, you know, of being able to freely express themselves with their own native tongue and their own mother language. And, you know, also I didn't think too much about it unless it was part of maybe like a SAT or a high school exam, you know, where you're testing your own skills, your reading comprehension, etc. Despite it being seemingly rhetorical, the way we speak, hear, and interpret our own and other languages is extremely important to our society. As you all know, I'm a proud Latino, and I try my best to incorporate my mother language into my everyday life and activities, that being Spanish, especially now that I have my son, Osias. Many parents will agree that having your child be bilingual or multilingual is sought after as a trait, not just for college admissions, but for the totality of a person's life. And even scientific studies show that individuals that speak multiple languages actually learn at an accelerated rate. So it's extremely important for many reasons, for learning, for expressing, for passing down stories from generation to generation so that those memories are not forgotten, those legacies from our ancestors and the places and the people that we come from. The world we're moving into today is becoming more and more diverse, with different languages and forms of those languages being spoken everywhere, from our local Costco to our very own home. The city of Moreno Valley is proud to be a place of such diversity, and it's why today we're recognizing a step in the right direction with our special presentation recognizing International Mother Language Day. Now, today we're joined by a special group of community leaders that is led by Mohamed Rahman from the International Mother Language Day Celebration Committee. So at this time, if you all could please make your way up, and if we could give them a big Moreno Valley round of applause. Okay. So we're going to share the mic here, and I want to read briefly the language from the proclamation just for a moment, and then I want to pass the mic over to all of you to share a few words. And the proclamation is right there. If you could do me a favor and just grab that for me, please, and show it off so everybody could see it. Thank you so much. And this proclamation here reads, whereas International Mother Language Day was first proclaimed in November 1999 by the General Conference of the United National Education, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, known as UNESCO, and whereas International Mother Language Day was implemented to promote the preservation and protection of all languages used by people around the entire world. And whereas International Mother Language Day and UNESCO expanded the day to promote unity in diversity and international understanding through multilingualism and multiculturalism. And whereas the theme for 2024's International Mother Language Day is multilingual education, a pillar of learning and intergenerational learning, promoting and highlight educational policies that help break barriers and build bridges between languages, facilitating effective learning. Whereas International Mother Language Day provides the community with a reminder of how languages play a vital role in development, ensuring intercultural diversity and dialogue, further strengthening cooperation among different societies while preserving and cultivating cultural heritage. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Moreno Valley, on behalf of its residents and staff, does hereby recognize February 21st, 2024, as International Mother Language Day in the City of Moreno Valley, and encourages all of our citizens and residents to educate and encourage each other's culture and linguistic heritage. And with that, I want to pass the microphone over to the International Mother Language Committee members who are joining us here this evening and actually propose this idea. This is happening today because of you and all of your community. And so I want to pass the mic over to you to share a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and all the officials of the Moreno Valley City Councils here. We are IMLDC, International Mother Language Day Celebration Committee. I'm Shahid Ahmed. I'm a civil engineer. I work for Caltrans, the state of California. So this is a great pleasure for us to receive it from the Mayor of Moreno Valley, the proclamation in this date today, 2024, February 21st. In the same neighboring city, we got it in 2021, City of Paris, Mayor Mr. Burgos. He also did the same thing. And after that, he made a monument in that city by the library. So where tomorrow, 21st February, we are going to celebrate the International Mother Language. And on behalf of us, you guys are all welcome there. We have in the morning flower putting ceremonies, and then we have lunch, and then we have cultural program. It will be great pleasure if you guys please come and join us there. Some of the congressmen is going to come too, and our Honorable Mayor and City of Paris Mayor and the Consulate General of Bangladesh, they're going to attend the program. So thank you very much. On behalf of myself, I'm the president for that International Mother Language Day Celebration Committee. I would like to hand over the mic to the founder president. This is the person who has been trying for everything, and we should give him a big applause.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor and councilmen and women and our city official. Thank you so much to recognize us today. The International Mother Language was going to be held tomorrow and nationwide. This is 1952, our country gave their life to save their language. Nationwide was like 18,000 languages spoken. Now 1,200 left. Everybody forgetting their roots. So we try to save that. So please help us and come together. We can save, we can talk in our home, our kids, our language. They will be speak English anyway, but we like to save our language. So they can speak their kids, our language, so we can save it. So please help us to do this. Thank you so much again. Thank you for proclamation, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Saifur Rahman Osmani, G2. I'm the ex-commissioner of Park and Recreation, Moreno Valley. And today is really a great day for all of our community. As you know, California is a land of immigrants. So many countries, people are here, they speak their own language. Just one quick note to say that to establish the language 21st of February, Bangladesh is the only country in the world gave their lives for the language movement. That's why UNESCO has recognized 21st February is the Mother Language Day. I'd like to thank the mayor and all the city council members and others to give the proclamation from the Moreno Valley City Hall. I'd like to thank you, each and everyone. Thank you.
Honorable Mayor, honorable council members, and high officials of City of Moreno Valley, thank you for honoring us, in fact, honoring all languages of the world. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your proclamation. Our hats off to you. And also, I myself, I grew up in Southeast Asia. I have a mother language, and it's so nice to talk to my daughter in own language, in spontaneity. And I see it all over the world. You know, I visited many countries over the years. So people have their natural instinct when they speak. But various reasons, this trend is kind of declining. So this is a small effort for all of us. Hopefully, in one day, everybody can freely practice their own mother language. And English as a global language, most people will learn because it's a necessity. However, practicing their own mother tongue will bring a flavor. And we thank you from our team at IMLDC for honoring us. Thank you.
Now, I would request our Honorable Mayor, tomorrow we are supposed to present this honor to our Professor, Community College, Riverside, Dr. Nizam Kazi. But tomorrow he has class, so we don't want to disturb his class. So today, Mayor was supposed to give this stuff to him tomorrow. This is from us, International Mother Language Day. So he's going to do it right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And if I can invite and ask the rest of the council if you'd like to go ahead and join us for this portion as well. Thank you once again for all of that. And we'll go ahead and put the cherry on top for this special presentation to award to Dr. Nizam Kazi this award recognizing your outstanding contributions to our community on behalf of the International Mother Language Celebration Committee on this day, that is now recognized officially in the city of Moreno Valley as International Mother Language Day. Thank you so much. And now we can take a nice big group picture, if that's okay with everybody. Yeah?
Let's all try to get towards the center. We're going to get taller folks on that second step. So we just all kind of back up towards the step. Yeah. Oh. We're all going to kind of take a few steps this direction. Yeah. All right. Actually, Mayor, can we get you on the second step as well? We'll have everyone else scooted. If I can get you on the second step as well, we're going to have you, right? Perfect. All right. Everyone's looking good. All right. And 1, 2, 3. All right. Actually, let me have you two switch real quick. All right. There we go. All right. And 1, 2, 3. Wonderful.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mayor, I'd like to thank you. And I don't need the mic or anything. And I teach in San Jacinto Community College. I live in Moreno Valley. And I see letter in my Sunnymead Ranch. I don't need it. I talk to. Oh, okay. Oh, nice. He's a gentleman send me every month what he's doing. I read I never met with him. I voted for him, I think, once. I don't know him, but he's doing great job. Is he here? Sunnymead Ranch?
Right behind you.
Oh, yeah, you are the guy. He said, yeah. He described everything so neat and clean, what is going on City Hall. I don't need to come here. Okay, and as you know, I've been teaching this college. This is the end of 39 years. Wow. And when I was at USC as a graduate student, I saw at that time, 44 years back, French, German, Italian, all the foreign language. Hardly I saw Spanish. Hardly I saw our local language. Before joining USC, I taught 1 year in a 99.99% African American school in Gardena. I had a little hard time to understand their accent initially. Then I found out they don't only talk, they have a body language included. I loved it because the mathematician, I know geometry, they speak so good with their body attached to it. I really enjoyed it. I don't want to prolong it here. Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Thank you all members and the dignitaries here for city. And keep up the good job.
Thank you.
Good job, Ed.
Yeah. Thank you. All of you have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Yes. Well, thank you. One more big round of applause, please, for the International Mother Language Committee. And with that, we'll go ahead and conclude our special presentations for today. And we'll be back in about 9 minutes for our regular city council meeting. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the joint meeting of the City Council of the City of Moreno Valley Community Services District, City as successor agency for the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Moreno Valley Housing Authority, Moreno Valley Public Financing Authority, the Board of Library Trustees, and the Moreno Valley Community Foundation. The City Council receives a separate stipend for CSD meetings. I now call this meeting to order on February 20th at 6:01 p.m. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilmember Delgado, and please remain standing after the Pledge of Allegiance for the invocation given this evening by Pastor Festus Anwuli from Christ Dominion Ministries International.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Please join me in Pledge of Allegiance. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, Pastor.
Good evening, everybody. Let us pray. Our Father and our God, the creator and the maker of the universe, we thank you for this great moment and the opportunity that you have given to us, especially to these great men and the women that you have appointed to lead this great city of Moreno Valley. We have gathered to have a meeting. I ask, oh God, we come together and ask for your wisdom, your understanding, to do that which you have called them to do. We bless your name and we thank you. God, our Father. Amen.
Thank you very much, Pastor Festus, for the invocation this evening. Appreciate you. That brings us next to the roll call. Madam Clerk, I'll turn to you for a roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz.
Here.
Councilmember Delgado.
Here, ma'am.
Councilmember Marcus.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Barnard.
Here.
And Mayor Cabrera.
Here. Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we will go ahead and move, seeing as all council members are present, we'll move on to item F, which is staff introductions, please.
Jane Halstead, City Clerk.
Patty Rodriguez, Senior Deputy City Clerk.
Stephen Quintanilla, City Attorney.
Mike Lee, City Manager.
Brian Mohan, Assistant City Manager over Administration.
Sean Kelleher, Acting Assistant City Manager Development and Community Development Director.
Lana Jimenez, Chief Financial Officer, City Treasurer.
Melissa Walker, the Director of Public Works.
Jeremy Bubnick, Director of Parks and Community Services.
Robert Cardenas, Human Resources Director.
Cruz Esparza, Director, Economic Development and Housing.
Lieutenant Tim Browse for Captain Ken Reichel, Moreno Valley Police Department.
And Jesse Park, Fire Chief.
Good evening, staff. As always, a pleasure to be here with you. Next, we'll move on to item G, which is approval of order of the agenda. And unless there are any requests from the council, Madam Clerk, I'll entertain a motion to approve the order of the agenda.
I make a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Madam Clerk, voice vote, please.
Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delgado.
Yes.
Councilmember Marcus.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bernard.
Yes.
And Mayor Cabrera.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now, before we move into public comments, for comments not on the agenda, I would like to mention that in addition to motions being made electronically, City Clerk will also conduct a voice vote for the blind and hearing impaired. That brings us to item H, which is public comments on matters that are not on the agenda. Please be advised that the city is currently offering Spanish translation services. If anyone is interested in this service, please let the City Clerk know. La ciudad actualmente ofrece servicios de traducción al español. Si alguien está interesado, por favor nos avisan. Now I'd like to move on to public comments, and I want to remind everyone to direct their comments to the City Council. Each speaker will have a total of 3 minutes for public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
Yes, we do, Mayor. We have five individuals. I'll go ahead and call 3 at a time. The first one is Russell Schaefer, followed by Fred Buñuelos, followed by Edgar Toole III.
Well, I'm happy to hear about the March 23rd egg scramble for the adults. Hopefully they get that all rectified this year because there was a lot of disappointing people last year. So hopefully they get that solution. You know, people jumping too quick. It was wasn't something that everybody was used to. And what makes me unhappy is you, Cabrera, constantly up there bashing other people on the dais. And you know who I'm talking about. You continually do it, and I think it's personal. So you need to stop it with your little antics. You need to calm yourself down and just do your job up there. Another thing also is your little counterpart up here saying that everybody's ill-educated. Where is he? Most of the time, I can't even understand what he's saying half the time. So I think, you know, in the future, you need an interpreter for him. And also, you need to keep yourself on social media and let the code enforcer out there do their job, because it looks like you're entertaining yourself on Channel 5 News or something. So you need to stop that. And then you and Marquez, you guys need to stop spending money on these lavish trips and stuff with these academies. So that's basically all I have to say. And Shalinda, you said last time that the Moreno Valley is changing. Well, you haven't been here long enough to even say it's changing yet. So why don't you stick around for a while and you'll see what's really going on in this town. Thank you.
The next three speakers are Fred Benuelos, Edgar Toole III, and Christopher Baca.
Hello, everyone. Aaron from Riverside County Transportation Commission was here recently talking about the traffic relief program, the new sales tax he wants the voters to approve. Why didn't he mention anything about SB1, the gas tax, and the increased car registration fees that are supposed to fix our roads? He mentioned a public survey was done. People see a need for more funding because they are not seeing enough results from the taxes we already are paying. SB1, why are we using this tax for trails in California? Our roads should come first. SB1 money went to the Juan Bautista de Anza Trail in our city. SB1 gas tax and transportation improvement fees go up every July 1st with no comments, no public comments, and no representatives voting for the increased fees. The SB1 transportation improvement fee on car registration is between $32 and $227 yearly. It's based on the value of your car. The extra gas tax per gallon is about 50 cents to 70 cents. That includes the SB1 gas tax. Electric cars pay an additional $100 on their car registration fees for obvious reasons. They don't use gas. Let's talk about other fees that are used to fix our roads. Weight fees, like on pickup trucks. Pickup trucks pay between about $8 to $360 yearly on this registration fees. The heavier vehicle, the commercial ones, the Commercial Vehicle Registration Act, pay between $332 and $2,064 yearly. The commission needs to get funds from all taxes we already pay and keep them local. We need to fight for the funds that were diverted to Sacramento and Washington, D.C. As I said before, we don't need a local taxation to fix a state-created problem. Where does the council stand on this? Our mayor is on the commission, and I want to know how you feel about it. I already told you that I don't want to be voting for extra taxes, and I don't vote for people that create new taxes. If you agree with me, you can go to trafficrelief.org and just say something simple. No new taxes. Simple as that. I have a little channel called Moreno Valley First. If you want to find out more information, come check it out. And then also, no on Prop 1. Thank you.
The next three speakers are Edgar Toole III, Christopher Baca, and Seth Cox.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My request today is of a personal nature. I stand before you as a homeless individual, not because I'm homeless, it's because for the second year in a row, I've been served a restraining order, physically removing me out of my home. And when that happens, it seems as though you're automatically guilty. There's nothing I can do about it. I had the court case. I had an accident, wasn't able to make it. But at this point in time, I am trying with everything I can to fight to be able to return to my home and take care of the woman that I love. We've been together for 38 years. It's my kids that have done this to me. They put me out the home. They're trying to sell the house and move her to Texas into a living facility. The reason why I'm here is I've had to call the police on them when they come over and be belligerent. My son came over and threatened me in my own home. I called the police. Come to find out they couldn't put him out the house. As a result of this, I go to get the police reports in order to be able to show the history of what has occurred, and come to find out no police report was filed for either incident regarding him and his older sister, who did the same thing. Essentially came to my house and was extremely disrespectful to where I called on her as well. So at this time, the reason why I'm here is I'm under time restraints. They're looking to move expeditiously with the sale of the house and moving her to Texas. All I need is a little help in trying to get the police report or statements as to what happened those days that I called, so that when I file the legal documentation to fight the current charges, I have something there in writing as to what truthfully occurred. My son stated he had power of attorney. When I had to turn my car in to Moreno Valley Police Department because it was still in her name, even though we act like we're married, what's mine was hers was mine, he had it taken away, but he didn't have the right to do so. So I need that documentation in order to try to level the playing field, to give me a chance to get back to my home and to the love of my life. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And if you could, we'll make sure that someone from staff connects with you to get your contact information for a follow-up as well.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
The next three speakers are Christopher Baca, Seth Cox, and Bob Palomares.
Good evening, council, community, and staff. I'm here commenting on the free clinic that they had Sunday at Sunnymead Park, and it was I was there with handing out toothbrushes and diapers and toys, and that was very successful. And that's out of a nonprofit that I work with, out of Touch of the Masters, out of Redlands and San Bernardino, and that went really well. Everything was well received. On the other places, they were handing out hygiene kits and abscess kits and that kind of stuff. And I also had my blood pressure and glucose levels done, which was amazing. On the gray part of it, they had Planned Parenthood, and they have all kinds of protection stuff and Plan B, and these kind of things and all that, which is, okay. But which is really bothersome, and I believe the city should do something to prohibit this. There was another organization there, and what they're handing out is meth pipes, heroin stuff to do heroin. You got syringes, kits to snort, more of this stuff. I think that's ridiculous. I absolutely don't think this should be allowed in our city. I work with nonprofits. We're out there helping. This is not helping the community. This is counterproductive. If it's not illegal, the city should make an ordinance. I understand code enforcement was there, and now I see their point that they wanted them way in the back. There was a little league games going on there. It's families, children, and so forth. This is uncalled for. I mean, we're talking about hardcore stuff here. This is no joke. This is absolutely no joke. I'm really bothered, and the community should be bothered, and this should not be allowed. But on the other hand, all the other stuff, great stuff, community needs it, diapers, toys, food, all of that went well. You know, I got blood pressure and diabetic testing. Sure, people need that. I need it, and they did it for me. And but this other stuff, it's uncalled for. But on another note, the election is 2 weeks away. Probably won't be here next Tuesday, on Tuesday the whatever it is, Tuesday the 5th. But go out and vote. Please vote. Thank you.
The next speakers are Seth Cox and Bob Palomares.
What do I do with this?
Good evening, Council. Seth Cox, a voice. My pet peeve right now. Guess what it is? Stater Brothers cleanup. I haven't seen anything happening other than stuff running into the streets still. And new graffiti inside, so the security gates aren't working. Okay, they're graffitiing the inside. I will thank Sean for getting a hold of me and talking to me about all the hoops we have to jump through. But we also have an attorney that should be jumping through those hoops faster and getting things done. It is a safety hazard to the public of Moreno Valley. I will continue to state that until it's cleaned up. So, thank you.
The next speaker is Bob Palomares and Pete Bleckard, followed by Louise Palomares.
Good evening, Council, Chiefs, and the Lieutenant. Thank you, sir. Elena, thank you for that information on that Praise Ministries. They helped some person that had run into that needed help, and he went down there and they took care of him. And also I want to thank Ed for offering help, and Julianne, she helped this lady that's been living on the streets here in Moreno Valley for 7 years. Her family, she hadn't seen her family in 13, but she's been here for 7. And they live up in San Bernardino, and they kind of been calling me, and you know, if I see her on the streets, and I kind of keep an eye out for her, and I see her. And these raincoats right here, I've been getting them at the surplus on Alder and Foothill, passing them out, you know. I was giving blankets, but I said, man, they're going to get wet, they'll just throw them away. So these coats, I've been giving them away. And I thought that presentation that Mr. Attorney Quintanilla did at the study session was wonderful regarding the campaign regulations and what have you. And I was hearing it, and I said, you know what, it sounds like somebody that's up there. I said, man, if these were arrows being shot at him, he'd look like a porcupine. But it was a great presentation. I appreciate that, you know, because just play by the rules and everything's good. Because, you know, we got to be fair here. In the past, there have been council members, and I know one, and I'm not going to mention him, but courted a developer that wanted to put a business over there on JFK, and I think it's Moreno Beach. Courted him to the Planning Commission when his project was coming up. I didn't know who he was at the time until I seen him come before the city council for that project. But he got a lot of opposition. He just said, you know, forget it. I ain't dealing with it. But that was the kind of stuff that was going on, because later I see those, what are they, 460s, where this individual received in 3 increments $10,000 on each one. So I said, wow, that was a vote for sale, in my opinion. So thank you.
The next 3 speakers are Pete Bleckard, Louise Palomares, and Roy Bleckard.
Same old complaint that I've talked about many years about your streets and your paving and all the other things that you do. You know, it's great that you do it, but you just got done paving Paris Boulevard. Now, if you look down through there all the way through, you'll see little white marks out there. That means they're going to cut up the whole street from, they've already done it at Sunnymead Ranch. They're going to come all the way down through there. Now you're going to have a spot, like we always have, with a patch in the road, and eventually that's all going to be worked out. We've always argued about this. We've argued about this for 30 years, that this happens. We go out and pave the road, and then we go and cut it up. Now, your staff or whoever gets involved, don't they think they ought to, we've talked about it. Of course, we get new staff, so I guess I got to come up here and talk about it all the time. But you should be coordinating with all the utility companies before you decide to have a big paving contracting going on. Now it's going to be there, and anytime you cut a cut in the pavement, the water goes underneath, and now you have breakups and everything else. It never works. So all that nice work that you did on Paris Boulevard, in 5 years is going to look like trash where the pipeline was, because you got different compactions and dirt. I don't know if you've worked dirt. I've done it all my life. So when it gets compacted, they got a tighter compaction, and the water goes in and seeps over to the other sides. It's not compacted as good as the ditch. So now you wind up breaking up more and more wider on the roads. I don't want to really teach school here, but I've done that, so I'm telling you what your problems are, and you always wonder why the streets get broke up. It's because nobody coordinates nothing. Ray Hossman and I and a few others have talked about it from year one, and we still wind up with the same problem. It'll be chopped all the way from Sunnymead Ranch. I see it's marked clear down to Cottonwood, and I'm sure it'll tie into the piece that they did down at Paris Boulevard that they just got done patching. So, you know, eventually someday, can we get somebody smart enough to coordinate?
Sorry, Mayor. Luis Palomares and Roy Blecker are the final two speakers.
Wow, Luis Palomares, community activist. You know, at the last council meeting, our Mayor Cabrera, you know, he's just so drunk with power. He's talking down to the councilwoman here, but he doesn't talk down to the men on the council, just the women, you know? And he's telling her, I want to know right now, tell me now, right now, what I did. And then you do all your cleanup and your story and your infomercials to make it sound like you're the poor victim here. You're not the victim. You're victimizing the whole city, but they just don't know because they're too busy on the freeways and working and all that they got to do to make a living here in our city. How dare you? How dare you? Maybe you talk to somebody like that at home, but don't talk to them here at the council. No respect for the city, the councilwoman, or sometimes even the staff. Shame on you. Who do you think you are, Cabrera? You're a boy doing a man's job, and you're doing a lousy job of it. A lousy job of it. You know, always going on and on about, wow, I did this, I did that, only alone I could fix it. Oh, last time you gave the council, you put them in, you said, oh, not me alone, it's all of us. Well, you change your whole tone. Usually it's just you that's fixing everything. You're the one with all the bright ideas. You're the one throwing all kinds of stuff on the agenda, you know? And you included the rest of the council this time. How noble of you. How noble of you. Because somebody, you know, put you straight and said, wait a minute, hold on. Don't take everything personal, because everything you do take personal. You know, I'm out there on the super highway. They're saying so much. I don't take it I don't care, you know, but you care. You know, how you know, you care. You're worried about what they think about you and what they say about you. Well, quit attacking the council members on the council. Again, I could say shame on you. And you're always, you know, your agenda as far as, you know, you give your big commercials, infomercials. I. Come on. You know, you're so full of yourself. It's a shame. You're so full of yourself. And you're always cleaning it up, and you're the spin doctor of the year here. You always give your whole presentation before anybody else could talk, so you can clear the playing field for yourself. For yourself. It's all about that. People call me and tell me, what's up with that guy in there? Oh, I go, he's just a kid. Hopefully he'll grow up and he'll mature a little bit. Hopefully by the end of the, you know, I don't think so, because you're too worried about, you know, your political your political forever campaign. That's what you're worried about. You're worried about climbing the political ladder on the taxpayer here in Moreno Valley. That's all you're worried about. You're here for a moment. You're going to be here forever. But all the damage you're leaving behind and the carnage and the chaos. Thank you.
The final speaker is Roy Bleckard.
To pick up on Freddie B's comments on the RTC, I'm sure you don't watch, but you'll be getting a very poignant commentary that I put on the radio show about the RCTC meeting of that. The next one up, the next speaker up was that I have noted was Bob Palomares, and he was exactly right, and why in a lot of cases we bring the things we do to you. It's a proper use of the study session and how things should be discussed to properly run and effectively run a city or any organization. Maybe someday, and we're finally starting to build the blocks of doing that, but we shouldn't have to make it like we do out here in the public, like pulling IT. There should be some more cooperation, and that's why I want to get to what Pete said. There is very, very, very little cooperation. When things are brought before, not only this board, and it's not unique to you, 98.7% of the time it's ignored. There's no communication. How can we fix this? What can we do? I just came from the crime syndicate where you learned a lot of this stuff. And you continue to make the same mistakes that they do, and they're sitting on the verge of receivership bankruptcy of our school district. I'm asking all of you, you should tender and ask for the resignation of Jesus Holguin before this community gets flushed completely down the toilet. If you didn't hear today, the Legislative Analyst's Office came out and said their estimate now is the budget deficit in the state of California is rising to 70+ billion. Your budgets are going to go down the hill. Gulag Gavin Newsom tried pulling a deal. Oh, it's only going to be 39. If you didn't watch the reports that Dr. Price, the CBO of Riverside County Education, gave to the crime syndicate, he said that was a rosy scenario and it ain't going to work. That's going to affect this city's budget like it's going to crash that school district. If draconian measures are not cut, if this council and this staff doesn't get on the stick and start communicating and start building bridges that are going to fix this with the people in the community, like right here, that are warning you what's coming on, like I warned the school district, like I'm warned and have warned you, it's ignored. When day is that going to stop because it's on you?
That concludes public comment, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk, and thank you to all of our public speakers this evening. We'll go ahead and conclude our public comments for non-agenda items and move to item A, which is the joint consent calendar. Before I open up the consent calendar for public comment, I ask my fellow council members if there are any items that they wish to remove from the consent calendar for separate discussion or for separate action.
Mr. Mayor, can I remove I-9 just for discussion, no separate action, please?
I-9 for separate discussion. Got it. Just making a note of that. I-9, are there any other requests from the dais? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move right into I-9 if you'd like to go ahead and go into discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to comment on our staff doing a great job of securing this money for the engineering for that light up on Locust and Redlands. We've been wanting to look at that for a long time, and you guys worked really hard at securing the funding for looking at. Now, I understand this is not the be-all, end-all, and this is not the monies to put the light in. We're getting it tomorrow, and I get that, but this is a start, and I just want to thank you guys publicly. Thank you for that.
And I'll echo those comments as well. I know that's something that's been attempted for years. And, you know, you came on board and been working close with them. And I know several council members and also the staff has been working on that for a while. So happy to see this get to this point. So thank you. Now with that, we'll go ahead and move into public comment. Madam Clerk.
There are no public comments for this item, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Are there any public comments for any of the rest of the joint consent calendar?
Yes, we have one for I-5 and 11. Oh, I guess we need the names. Roy Bleckard.
Guess you again. So, short story and ain't got much time. Skag.
Felt out.
Hassan Akrada, he used to run that. He now runs Sandbag down in San Diego. He came to this Jeff Geibel when he was up there, and that Davis had brought him down here. After the meeting, I said, you know how we built the finest highway system the world had ever known? No, because he's an immigrant from, oh, I don't know, Russia or Ukraine. I said it was because started with Pat Brown in 58, went through Ronald Reagan in 16 years. We built the finest highway system in the world. Only on the gas tax. Not one bond, not robbing out of the general slush fund, not holding a gun to the taxpayers of the state of California and asking for more, more, more. That's what SCAG does. That's what RCTC does. We pay 3 times as much for half the roads, and I'm exaggerating it. When do we stop? Mayor, why don't you go up there and tell them, you don't know the history either. You have no concept of how to do this. None of you do. At least I haven't seen it. Where are our guys? Where are our staff reports? Where were the questions back? You're going to get a report again on that. When these guys come up here, it's like a love fest. It's like the disturbing part of this grant of I-11. Achievement of equity. We're trying, and it deals with parking, which we'll deal with in a bit. I've asked you, your staff has asked you, your police department has asked you to fix the truck parking. We've asked you for years, for decades. It's a thing called warehouses. The people want, that's how they want their goods and services delivered. We better figure it out. We're like the hub of that. Other cities around here seem to have a handle on it. There's been no discussions, at least from my perspective, and I'm 100% accurate and I know what I've said. Hey, maybe we can use this to fix that. Zero, zip, nada. From everyone up around here. You want to know why the problem is? We keep spending more money and doing more studies and saying how great we're doing. Well, the problems get 87 million times worse. So go ahead and pass this and hose us, the taxpayers, some more like you do at every meeting, every year, every decade.
That concludes public comment on the consent calendar, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. And with that, we'll go ahead and move.
I think I have questions on the council training. Want to pull it? It's just questions, not to, but I can't see.
Which item is this?
Is your travel, it looks like Conference of Mayors, but it looks like the return flight was to a different city. So I was just wondering if it was 2 conferences or one, I4.
This is for I4.
So it's not like separate vote or anything, I just had questions, but I'm having trouble seeing the agenda part on this side. Yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah, and I don't see, just in case, I don't see any hands raised. If you were hitting the button, I don't see anything.
Okay. They're gonna bring me the hard copy, but you could pull it up.
Okay, we can give it just a moment.
It's not this one.
I think staff is going to get a hard copy
wanna
of the information that the council member is asking for.
Sitting right there. They're just gonna grab it.
Yeah, they have the
Yeah,
binder right there.
I can grab it.
And again, for the record, this is a request from Councilmember Bacasana Cruz for questions on item I-5, which is on the joint consent calendar.
I-4.
I-4.
So
Okay,
one-
go right ahead.
So one of our the travel document says U.S. Conference of Mayors, but the dates of the items are outside. And then it says another return flight to Las Vegas. So should this be 2 reports? Are these 2 conferences or 1?
This was 2 separate conferences.
Okay, so I think we need to bring it back because it just shows 1 conference.
I think she might be looking to staff for some answers.
You said it was 2
So it
conferences?
looks like we have a travel authorization and expense reporting for U.S. Conference of Mayors, but it looks like to be 2 conferences.
Yeah, there was one for the mayor's conference, and then there was one for the Las Vegas conference.
There's no Las Vegas conference in the paperwork, just a flight to Vegas and maybe
We can
some-
add it to the next one.
Okay, yeah, because it just looks like we spent
We missed
almost
that one.
4,000 on 1 conference, and I think it's supposed to be 2.
So, Councilmember, actually, it is 1 travel authorization form that was signed due to the fact that there is only 1 conference that the city paid for. The mayor actually went to a second conference in which was paid for by a different entity. So therefore, although the return trip was not back to Ontario International Airport here in Southern California, it was paid for by another entity to go to Vegas. Therefore, not requiring, based on our policy, 2 travel authorization forms.
So then it's fine like the way it is, 1.
Yes, because the travel authorization form, in essence, documents the various travel that the city would be paying for so that the downstream approvers can actually validate that those costs are applicable to city coffers. And in essence, that was done in this particular travel authorization form.
Okay, no more questions.
Thank you. With that being said, at this time, I entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar items.
I'll second.
There's a motion by Councilmember Marquez and a second by Councilmember Delgado. Madam Clerk, voice vote, please.
Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz?
Yes.
Councilmember Delgado?
Yes.
Councilmember Marcus?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bernard?
Yes.
And Mayor Cabrera?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. So that will conclude the consent calendar portion, and that brings us next to item J, which is public hearings. Questions or comments from the public on a public hearing matter are limited to 3 minutes per individual and must pertain to the subject under consideration. Those wishing to testify should complete and submit a goldenrod speaker slip to the city clerk staff. We have J1, which is the public hearing to designate future annexation area for CSD 2023-01, and we'll have a report from Financial and Management Services.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. As you may recall, on October 17th, 2023, Council adopted Resolution 2023-68, which initiated proceedings to establish Community Facilities District 2023-01 Public Safety Services. On November 21st, 2023, Council adopted Resolution 2023-82, which established CFD 2023-01, and Resolution 2023-84, declaring Council's intent to designate the entire territory of the city as a future annexation area for the CFD. On December 5th, 2023, Council approved the second reading and adopted Ordinance 1004, which levied an annual special tax against all non-exempt parcels of real property within the CFD. A public hearing was scheduled for January 2nd, 2024, in reference to the adoption of a resolution to allow future annexations without public hearings upon unanimous approval of parcel owners. This council meeting was canceled, which meant Resolution 2023-84 was no longer valid. At the direction of outside Special District Council, we started the future annexation process over. On January 16th, 2024, Council adopted Resolution 2024-01, which was a resolution of intention and set today as the public hearing date for the designation of the future annexation area. The second reading is scheduled for March 5th, 2024, and the ordinance will become effective 30 days later. That concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much for that report, Lana. Really appreciate that. And at this time, I'll turn to the dais. Are there any council questions of staff? Seeing none, thank you once again, Lana. Appreciate it. We'll go ahead and move into the public hearing. And at this time, I will open the public hearing. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
We have no request to speak, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And that brings us to council deliberation if desired. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve staff's recommendations.
So moved to approve?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Councilmember Delgado, and there was a second as well. Second by Councilmember Marquez.
Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz?
Yes.
Councilmember Delgado?
Yes.
Councilmember Marcus?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bernard?
Yes.
And Mayor Cabrera?
Yes. And that passes unanimously. That brings us next to item K, which is general business. We have a couple of items, starting with K1, which is a proposed commercial vehicle parking on Eucalyptus Avenue. And we'll start with a report from Public Works.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. The item before you this evening is a recommendation by the Traffic Safety Commission to approve the addition of designated commercial parking on the north side of Eucalyptus Avenue, west of Aldi Place. On November 21st, 2023, the council directed staff to seek public comments from the residents located quarter mile south of the proposed location. Staff mailed out a total of 243 letters to the area, providing contact information and a comment period. Staff received 9 emails and 6 phone calls, all in opposition to the proposed parking. Staff presented the findings to the Traffic Safety Commission on February 7th, 2024, and the commission voted 4-0 to approve the proposed commercial vehicle parking. That concludes my report. I would be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the report, Melissa. That brings us next to council questions, and I do see a few hands here. We'll start with Councilmember Marquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Melissa, on those questionnaires, on the responses you got back, any of those included the refrigeration on these trailers?
They were all concerned about noise. All the ones that did contact us, that was their main concern was noise. So, and we did bring up the refrigeration. So.
Okay, so when they say noise.
Right. Yes. Generally speaking, yes. Just the concern for the trucks and the noise and the potential of the discomfort from that distance type of thing. So just not wanting it there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilmember Delgado.
Melissa, the questionnaires, did they tell you how many responded out of the couple hundred that were sent out? Did you guys already say that?
Yes. So again, yes, absolutely. So we did send out a total of 243 letters. We received basically 15 responses. So 9 were by email, and we received 6 phone calls, all in opposition.
All in opposition. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further council questions for staff? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move into the public testimony portion. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak on this item?
We have two requests. Seth Cox, followed by Roy Bleckard.
Hello again. I've spoken on this subject a few times last year. We need commercial parking, not in opposition to that. I'm in opposition to where it's at and what it's actually trying to achieve, okay? If I look at the pictures correctly, it's curbside parking on the pavement in front of the Aldi buildings. Is that true? So, on public roadway, right-of-way, truckers are being allowed to park free of charge, no impact to general fund, so no policing. So you just get to park there any time of the day or night. I haven't seen the plan, what they're going to do. Do they have to be in there by a certain time of night, or can they come in at 1 o'clock in the morning and park and then leave again at 4, just so they sleep for 4 hours? I don't know what it's for and what you're trying to achieve. And the length of the roadway that you're even going to allow them to park on, how many trucks you think can park there? 8, 10, 12? That doesn't address the issue of commercial parking in Moreno Valley. Okay, it needs to be a lot. If you look across the freeway off of Spruce Avenue down past Moreno Ranch Supply, there's somebody got a commercial parking lot already set up over there. I don't know if it's illegal or not, but every time I go by, there's at least 15, 20, 25 semi-trucks parked in perfect circle in their numbered slots. Somebody's making money. It's not the city. So this is an inappropriate solution to the commercial parking in Moreno Valley. It didn't work on Heacock down on JFK from day one. It became a drug-infested area. People unloading trucks at all times of day or night. Whatever they were doing, I don't know. I wasn't aware of it. I didn't live down there. And to be honest, I wasn't concerned about it then. Okay? I was raising my family. My kids were going to school. They went off to college. Now I have nothing else better to do than complain about the city stuff. Okay? So I'm up here. All right? I'm honest. I'm transparent. Okay? I have no kids involved anymore. You know, I live out in District 3. This is not even my district over there, I don't believe. I can't keep up with it all the time, but it might be. But again, I'm in opposition to it because it doesn't solve an issue that we have. It just lets people park on public streets, sets a precedence for that. And so if you set that precedence, what happens? Somebody else will come up here and ask to park on 3 other streets because it's wide enough. We've got this easement. Now you got 12 parks on the east.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
The next speakers are Roy Bleckard, followed by Bob Palomares.
I guess we have the newest member of the peanut gallery out here. I watched this process. I think I commented a little bit on it. I think Mr. Cox was exactly right. This is another shining example of the ineffective policies that go on around here all the time. Your solution to the truck parking problem is let's park more on the streets. There's a solution to this. We know there's going to be, it doesn't take much to get a study. We know there's going to be a certain amount of trucks. There's going to be a certain amount of refrigeration trucks. Where are we going to put them? Where are we going to provide the facilities that have the least impact on the community? Mind you, nothing's going to be perfect. There's going to be an impact somewhere of everything we do. You living put an impact on a negative impact, if you want to go by CEQA, just by existing. But it seems like we keep bringing up the same subjects and that, and we keep, and I think this is what I got from Mr. Cox's comments. We keep trying, this city tries to push the same solutions, the same failed solutions, and they hope for a different result. We run on feelings and emotions. We do not run on results. So which day, any one of you sitting there or sitting there might just even pick up the phone and say, how do we fix this? We don't know what to do, if that's what the case is. Maybe Mr. Cox would be at home watching Gunsmoke or something if you did that. So sometimes we have to bring a little humor and levity into the dose of reality of what this is. First place is, I look at that, why was there a picture up on the screen saying this is where the trucks are at? This is what you're going to pass today. Whether it's a good deal or not, I defy you to run this back and say, get somebody independent and say, could you make an honest decision for the folks anyway, the way this was presented to this board? If that answer is no, then you got a lot more problems than truck parking on Eucalyptus.
The next speaker is Bob Palomares.
Good evening again. This is a bandage on something that needs stitches. You know, like Mr. Cox and Roy were saying, how many cars or trucks can you park there? What you need to do is you need to revisit the truck stop you had spoken about months back. But I think 5 people or 7 people came up here opposing it and rattled your boots. And now it's, you know, you're going to put it on Eucalyptus. That you're going to outgrow that, and, you know, I mean, everybody's going to be fighting to park there. But everybody opposed it because, you know, what did they bring? Prostitution, drug dealings, overnight. Everything was up there on the table to oppose it when they were talking about the truck stop. And you know what I do now? When somebody opposes a store or a 7-Eleven or a truck stop, I go to current ones that are new, wherever. There's one right now in Bloomington on the corner of Cedar and Santa Ana. There's homes right across the street from it. So I go through there, and none of that stuff exists. Prostitution, you know, I mean, the trucks are parked nice and neat. They got security. They got a man going around in a little scooter, checking it out. It's nice and clean, and that's a rough neighborhood. So they did it right, you know, and that's what you need to do. You need to go back and, you know, not be afraid of the opposition that, oh, no, we don't want it here, you know, because you're going to need it. Eventually, you're going to be, whoever's here on the council is going to be forced to deal with it. And right now, you're ahead of the game if you start looking at it now, because WLC hasn't opened yet. But when they do, so, you know, don't nickel and dime it, you know, think outside the box and get the real issue solved. Thank you.
The final speaker is Luis Palomares.
Luis Palomares, community activist. You know, Bob's right. Roy's talking the right language here. We've been up and down this issue for so long. I mean, those were Marcus's base over there that didn't want that over there when it came up a long time ago, the truck stop there, because they came and the sky's falling and all the awful stuff that was going to come with it. How do we know unless we do it? Do you got a crystal ball, Marcus, that you know? I mean, so what does it take? An act of Congress? An act of Congress? We could send a man to the moon, but we can't figure out this problem. If the council and the staff, let's get somebody in here that can bring some answers to us, because there's going to be a lot more trucks coming in. I mean, Riverside has them over there. You know, they didn't want the World Logistics Center here, But they got them all over there by the DMV. There's tons of them. They stopped what was going on here, had the developer in court for 7 years, but they built everything they wanted over there. So it's going to come here next. So what are we going to do with the truck parking? Like, you're putting a Band-Aid on it, like Bob said. I mean, how many trucks could fit right there by Aldi's? They're going to be having a shootout over those parkings there. You know, come on. Like I said, we can do all of this stuff and give to this and give to that, but we can't get a truck stop here. That's what I think might be one of the answers up the road somewhere. Maybe should have some more study sessions on that, because this isn't going to work for too long. Like I said, they're going to be having shootouts over there for those 8 parkings or 10 parkings that they're going to be able to fit in. So I agree with the rest of the speakers. We need to figure this out and really put our heads together and make this happen the right way for the truck drivers. They bring all our supply, everything we need. So thank you.
That concludes public comment, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. So with that, we'll go ahead and move into council deliberation if desired. If any council members would like to make any comments, please hit your speaker button and we'll make sure to get to you. First up, we have Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz.
To staff, thank you for going out and doing this. I know it originally was over here off of Cactus, and there was opposition, and we instructed you to go look for another space. I know it's not the cure-all, it's not going to fix it, but it's a start, and we got to start somewhere. So I'm in favor of this, and it's a start. But yes, we are going to have to look for something better or more, and we know that.
Next, we have Mayor Pro Tem Bernard.
I too would like to thank staff for this. I know that this is a start, but I'm going to go back to originally when this discussion was brought up that we do need a truck stop. It was something that I do still believe, based on the amount of industrial warehousing that we do have, should have been thought about, because at some point they were going to need to park somewhere. So I agree with Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz that this is a start, but I am still going to hold on to the fact that we do need an actual truck stop for them to actually park their trucks at. Also, because we know that a lot of them are not only just coming here and doing these drop-offs, but if something's going wrong on their truck and it needs to be worked on, we don't want them working on the street on it. And they do need a secure location. That's another way to look at bringing revenue in. So I applaud city staff, because I will say this is a start, but I do believe we do need to start really thinking about the concept of an actual truck stop in the city.
Thank you. Are there any further comments from the council? Okay. I'll make a brief comment and just say that this is a conversation that we've been having for years, for a very long time, and trying to figure out the situation as we have grown, especially in the industrial sector, which brings in a lot of commercial vehicles to town, trying to figure out how we accommodate them and make sure that they're a good fit with the community as best as possible. And I think we've had a few projects over the past couple of years that were essentially truck parking lots for semi-trucks, for commercial vehicles. But one of the issues that I had with those, it's maybe been 2 or 3 of them that I've seen in my time here on the dais, is that those were reserved for an industrial developer contracting directly with the truck parking lot. So it didn't allow for mom and pop operators of commercial vehicles. I may be wrong on that, but that's what I recall. The property owners, of course, have the right to enter into those agreements with really whoever they want to. But I think while I agree with the comments that we need to figure out a better way to fit these trucks in, I think we need to focus even more so, again, on those mom and pop operators, those independent contractors that own their own trucks, that live here in Moreno Valley and need a place to park because they can't park them in their house. They can't park them in the driveway. They'll get cited by code enforcement. And the available parking is essentially what you're seeing on the agenda today. It's street parking. And I know it's not the best, but even if it is a Band-Aid, Band-Aids serve their purpose, right? It's a temporary fix to stop the bleeding. But I agree, as Mayor Pro Tem said, that we still need to figure out a long-term solution for this. This is just a Band-Aid, and it'll help a little bit, but just a little bit. And we need to have some serious conversations about some real long-term solutions. So next up, we have Councilmember Marquez.
Yeah, this has been a problem. It's been a problem as long as I've been on the council for 8 years. One speaker says that she mentioned my name. It doesn't take one vote to change anything around. It takes the council's vote. But I take offense to it when somebody says Marquez did this, Marquez did that. I was voted in by the residents of District 3 to be their voice. When projects come up like this, I do talk to them. I've been out there several times. They don't want a parking lot in their area. And they have come out and said, we don't want the city to build. Well, the city doesn't build parking lots. We're trying to find a solution. The city's not going to build truck parking. And as for someone says, oh, we had one and we turned it down, I have no idea what they're talking about. A lot of times the speakers come up here and I don't know, they mention things that don't make sense half of the time. But yeah, I've been against it, parking out there. But this is a solution. It's got to start somewhere. And if it takes 10 trucks to park there, then it takes 10 trucks to park there. There's not much else we can do. These speakers come up here and they say this and that. Well, why don't you talk to Mr. Banzivi? He's got all that property out there. Why doesn't he put a parking lot out there for his trucks? He's the one who brought in all these commercials out there. But they never bring his name up. I don't know why. So the city's trying, staff's trying everything they can to fix this solution. So I give my hats off to the city staff for trying this. Don't come out here and criticize, oh, well, this is not going to solve anything. Well, it's a start. And I back our staff 150% when we have projects like this coming up, even though I get complaints from the residents. It's something that it's got to be done, and this is a start. So I just want to say that. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor, let the record reflect that Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz has left the dais.
Understood. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay. Unless there's any further request for deliberation or comment from the council, I'll entertain a motion to approve staff's recommendations.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion made by Councilmember Delgado and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Bernard. Excuse me. Madam Clerk, a voice vote, please.
Okay. Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz has left the dais. Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz, how is your vote?
Yes.
Councilmember, just
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Delgado,
Yes.
Councilmember Marcus,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bernard,
Yes.
and Mayor Cabrera.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. That passes unanimously as well. That brings us next to item K2, which is a companion ordinance and resolution changing the scope of the mayor's and council members' roles, duties, and responsibilities. And we will turn to our city attorney for a staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So at the February 6th meeting, which was our last meeting, the City Council voted 5-0 to direct staff to prepare certain changes to certain policies and procedures applicable to the mayor and or City Council. And also, some of these changes pertain to the administration of certain city activities and business matters as well. And so there was 5 recommended changes. First one is to require 3 affirmative votes to have any item considered in the context of a study session. Number 2, reiterate the state law that prohibits the use of city resources for personal purposes, including without limitation the use of family photos, and that's going to be added to the appropriate policies. Number 3, conduct an annual review of policies affecting the duties and responsibilities of the entire city council and the administration of certain city activities and business matters. Number 4, require the appointment to city committees and regional commissions, committees, and boards to occur at the same time when the mayor pro tem is annually selected. And number 5, require that letters of recommendation or other similar correspondence or documents sent on behalf of the city or city council be approved by the city council at a scheduled public meeting. So the first item, requiring 3 votes for the study session, we need to amend the rules of procedure for council meetings and related functions and activities, specifically the section that deals with city council reports and comments. So the proposed change there is that we're including a statement that provides that in order to place an item on a future study session agenda, it shall require 3 affirmative votes taken at a notice council meeting. There are other sections of our legislative policies that deal with this particular issue, and one which includes matters requiring 3 votes. And so I'm suggesting that we amend 3.3.2 to require 3 affirmative votes for the placement of any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council on a future study session agenda. So that's going to join the adoption of ordinance and resolutions granting franchises, resolutions amending the general plan, and the appropriations of payment or expenditure of money. So now we're going to add the placing an item on a future study session agenda. In regards to prohibiting personal use of public resources, we need to amend the legislative policy titled Staff Assistance Provided to City Council. There's a provision, the first provision in this, under this policy, I'm recommending that we amend the final sentence to read as follows. The city clerk, actually there's 2 sentences. The city clerk is the designated department head and shall supervise employees assigned to support the council. Council staff and city resources shall not be used for personal business or private purposes such as, but not limited to, political campaign activities. Prohibited private purposes also include, without limitation, the use of city staff or city resources to produce, publish, assemble, or distribute personal photos of friends or family members, invitations or announcements of personal celebrations, ceremonies, and other such events. We also need to address this issue in the context of a section called Council Staff Assistance. And so I'm recommending we amend the appropriate provisions in this, under this section, to read that if the council assigns the responsibility to the, oh, wait, no, that has to do with letters of recommendation. Sorry about that. Correspondence in support of a council member's pursuit of political office, in support of someone else's pursuit of a political office, or for personal, business, or private purposes as described in this policy, shall not be prepared using city clerical secretarial services to other city resources. In regards to the topic pertaining to the annual review of policies, I'm recommending that that the council introduce and adopt an ordinance that amends section 2.04.040, the adoption of policies, the adoption of procedures that's set forth in our municipal code. So I'm recommending that we change that single paragraph to read as follows. The city council shall, by resolution, adopt policies and procedures related to the conduct of its meetings and other functions related to the administration of certain city activities and business matters determined to be necessary by the city council, which shall be reviewed on an annual basis unless otherwise scheduled by the city council. In regards to the annual appointments of certain committee members and commissioners, and this has to do with our regional commissions and our standing committees. So I'm recommending that we amend the appropriate section of the rules of procedure, which is now known as committees. I'm recommending we change that name to standing committees because these are standing committees. And so, as you surely know, we have several standing committees, which include Finance Committee, Public Safety Committee, Economic Development Committee, Parks and Community Services Committees. And even though some of these if you don't want these to be active, it's okay for you to disband them at any time. And so I'm recommending that section be amended to include 9.6 annual appointments, and that's going to read, pursuant to state law, the mayor shall annually nominate, at the same time the mayor pro tem is selected, appointments to all standing committees created by the city council, subject to the approval of a majority of the city council at a notice public meeting of the city council. I'm also recommending that we actually add a section that is titled Regional Commissions, Committees, and Boards. And so under this section, I'm suggesting that we specifically identify those regional agencies where our council members serve on their legislative bodies, and that includes March, Riverside County Habitat Conservation Agency, Riverside County Transportation Committee, Riverside Transit Agency Board of Directors, Western Riverside Council of Government, and that includes an executive committee, Western Riverside County Regional Conservation Authority, and the school district / city joint task force. So I suggest that we amend our policies to include a reference to all of those regional agencies. And I also suggest that we add to that section annual appointments. And that would read, pursuant to state law, the mayor shall annually nominate, at the same time the mayor pro tem is selected, appointments to all regional commissions, committees, and boards consistent with the respective regional agencies' rules, procedures, or bylaws, subject to the approval of a majority of the city council at a notice public meeting of the city council. Finally, on the issue of letters of recommendation, I'm suggesting that we just add a reference to letters of recommendation under our legislative policy titled City Council Recognition Policy. So the recommendation is to include the following. Letters of recommendation must meet the following criteria. Letters of recommendation to be prepared and dispatched on behalf of the city or city council shall not be prepared by staff or through the use of city resources or sent on city letterhead or stationery containing the city's seal, logo, or any other official insignia of the city unless approved in advance by a majority of the city council at a notice public meeting of the city council. We also had to amend the municipal code section that deals with the mayor's roles, duties, and responsibilities. And I'm recommending that we do amend this section as well to cross-reference these policies that are set forth under our legislative policies and some of our other policies, the rules of procedure. And so I'm recommending that we add a reference to letters of recommendation, and that's going to appear in both paragraph 10, approving and signing all letters of commendation and letters of recommendation if approved by a majority of the city council at a notice public meeting of the city council or recommended by the city manager. I also recommend that we amend paragraph 18 that deals with presenting proclamations, plaques, and letters of commendation, and that's simply going to include a reference to letters of recommendation as well. I also suggest that we amend paragraph 29 to read as follows. Establishing city council, this is for the mayor's duties. Establishing city council subcommittees and standing committees and appointing on an annual basis at the same time the annual selection of the mayor pro tem occurs. All members to city council subcommittees, standing committees, and regional commissions, committees, and boards pursuant to all applicable policies subject to the approval by the city council, majority of the city council, at a special meeting or a regular meeting of the city council. And finally, I'm recommending that we add a new paragraph, that's paragraph 31, and that reads as follows. The mayor shall perform the role, duties, and responsibilities as set forth in this section, consistent with any corresponding city policies as may be amended from time to time by the city council. So again, this cross-references into all these other policies that include duties and responsibilities of not only the mayor, but the entire city council. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm ready for any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Attorney, for the presentation. That moves us next to council questions of staff, if desired. And we have a hand raised by Councilmember Delgado.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Steve, thank you very much for, I wouldn't say cleaning them up, but kind of reviewing them at our direction. And I think it is good that we do this annually. So thank you for that. But as I was going through these, and something clicked in I noticed something on 3.32, if you can go back to that. And my question is for finance. Brian? 3.32, matters requiring 3 votes. What is the history? Why 3 votes? What's the history, and where did we come up with 3 votes? And I think I know the answer, but I wanted you to confirm.
The 3.3.2 matters requiring 3 votes that is referenced in the staff report actually comes from Policy 101A, Section 3, conducting business at meetings, subheading 3.3, quorum and required majorities. That particular policy, when drafted by the forefathers that had come before you, had required 3 votes for any item to be placed on the agenda, as well as 3 reaffirming votes to ensure that items that are approved in a manner that meets California Government Code, Section 36936. And that particular code kind of mirrors what is codified in our municipal code. Resolutions, order for payment of money, and all ordinances require a recorded majority vote of the total membership of the city council. So that's where that gets into the appropriations for payment or expenditure of money. And specifically, that was written in as 3 votes before Ordinance 996 modified that to 2, is due to the fact that anytime council requests anything that is not done from a staff level perspective, all of staff in every department already know what items we're bringing before council months ahead of time. And we've already got that keyed up on a annual basis, and it's part of our budgetary resources that we ask for in the budget. So if council is asking for something outside of that, then it was never really budgeted from a resource perspective, and therefore requires 3 votes, because from the get-go of us working on those new requests, it is in essence augmenting what was previously approved for budgetary resources of any given department.
So to clarify, and the reason I'm shaking my head is because I think I screwed up, because we're allowing 2 votes on any agenda item to use city resources for something to be placed on the agenda. So what I read earlier when I went through this is that you have to have 3 votes to spend any city money or resources, right?
Along with adoption of ordinance and resolutions
right.
of franchise.
But money-wise.
Yes, you do.
Right? So in essence, we're violating our own policy by allowing 2 council members to place something on the agenda to order or to direct staff to get into something and utilize city resources, effectively money, with only 2 votes.
Correct. So when you said that you screwed up, it necessarily wasn't you, but what we're trying to do here is mirror previous Ordinance 996, along with the 5 changes that you requested in the meeting that was referenced within the staff report, along with trying to then reference all of the various policies that we had discussed this last meeting that need to be updated as part of the municipal code revisions that occurred in 996 and now this companion ordinance as well. And that's when we had identified that Ordinance 996 does not meet our own municipal code and policy 101A as codified to be in compliance with governmental code section 36936.
Okay, so if two of us directed you to do something that uses city resources or personnel, we'd be violating our own policy as the policymaker, right? I mean, that's what you understand, what I
Yes.
just said.
That is how we build our budgets, and we know what activities are occurring on any given year and what is coming before council, and therefore that's how we establish our budgetary resources.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, and thank you for that, Steve. Thank you for all the other changes. I guess we'll be voting on them. So we're going to be voting on all of these, right?
Thank you. At a certain point here, but there might be further deliberation, and then we also have to take public comment as well.
Thank you.
So question, because that was a lot of information there. But I think last year when we came in, and even before, when I first got on the council, I think the requirement for adding items to the agenda was only 2. And then it's been that way for at least a year now. And I know we're talking specifically about study session items, but to make sure I'm understanding correctly, are you saying that by allowing for only 2 council members to add an item to an agenda or add an item to a study session, that we're violating the law?
So historically, in the past, we always required 3 votes to add something to the agenda and
Not
or
always.
and
Yeah,
or
it wasn't always that way.
and or a study session. The policy 101A has never been changed from that standing order. Now, in practice, did somebody make a change? Possibly.
Remember, just
I
real
don't
quick.
know what year, but prior to 2021, for me being up here, it's always been 3.
Yeah, whenever I clearly remember, it was me, it was Mayor Pro Tem Baca at the time, and Mayor Gutierrez at the time that voted to change it from 2 votes to requiring 3 council members to add items to the agenda.
That would have been prior to me sitting in this particular capacity. Yeah. And that very well could have been due to governmental code change from the state of California to be in compliance. So I know that 101A has historically been 3 since I've been sitting here in 21. That did change in with the revisions in 996. But historically, for study session and or regular meeting agenda items, it has been 3 since 21.
Okay, and on tonight's agenda and the staff report, the changes would include specifically for study sessions. It would change the requirement from only 2 council members to now 3 council members, assuming this gets approved. It would require 3 council members to essentially call for a study session.
Yeah, specifically on page 3 of the staff report in section 3.3.2, matters requiring 3 votes. The suggested revision is add placement of any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of City Council on a future study session agenda, and it's requiring 3 affirmative votes in that section. So at this particular point in time, it is just a study session as was motioned or discussed at the previous meeting.
Yeah, there was consensus. Okay, and then, so that means that the requirement for just 2 council members to add an item to a regular city council meeting agenda for discussion, that stays untouched. That stays the same.
That stays untouched, but I would still suggest that council take a look at that, because when you take a look at California Government Code 36936, I would still say that we would be in violation of that code, because as soon as any one of us are working on items that were not part of the budgetary resources that were developed for the budget, one could argue that we are outside of those previously approved budgetary resources, and now new budgetary resources are being requested.
Okay. Yeah, I think I don't want to go into deliberation now because we're still on questions, but I'm going to bring that up again in deliberation because we might be going down a slippery slope there and definitely should rely on legal counsel here. But I'll use the example of if one council member asks for really anything, the argument could be made that city resources are being used, staff resources are being, so it just, I want to be very careful, and that I think this is a much bigger discussion that we have to have. I don't think we can make that decision tonight, but it's something that now we're taking into consideration. So one other question regarding the letters of recommendation, just for clarification purposes, and thank you, Brian, appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian.
In the, I was reading it here just a moment ago, but it says in the recommended changes that any letters of recommendation from the city or city council would require approval from the dais, an affirmative vote from the dais. So what about, say, if like one individual council member wanted to write a letter of recommendation for someone, for a resident, or if I, the mayor, if one individual, one of us, wanted to write a letter of recommendation, would every single one of those have to come to the dais for approval?
I'm going to turn this over to the CA as it is no longer within the realm of spending money.
Yeah, thank you.
First of all, you do have a First Amendment right to represent that you are an elected official for the city of Moreno Valley, and you can even state what position you occupy. This issue involves around the use of public resources and the use of our city employees for personal purposes. This would not preclude any one of you to submit to, send a letter that you draft, not City Hall, on your own letterhead. So you have the right to do that as far as sending out a letter of recommendation. So again, this is all about using city resources and city staff time to prepare these letters of recommendation if they were not approved by the city council. So again, you can use your own. I know there's a lot of council members that have their own personal stationery.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that because I don't think it's the best use of our time and staff's time or the council's time really to, if say Councilmember Delgado wanted to write a letter of recommendation for a resident who's applying for university or to the police academy, for example, I don't think that should have to come to the dais for approval.
I think if it's written by me, from me, and say I'm a city council member in the city of Moreno Valley, I recommend Steve Quintanilla for the police academy, starting in June 1st or whatever it was, coming from me, I think that's fine. I think what this is, it's saying from the city of Moreno Valley, we recommend Steve Quintanilla for blah, blah, blah.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I think, I think what this is more in relation to is we have to make sure when we're doing things, just like my job, right? Like you have to say who you're speaking for at that time. So I think the message is that if you're sending it out on city letterhead or city stationery, you're essentially saying the city of Moreno Valley is supporting said person. And that's why they said like it has to go out on personalized. Like you can use your elected title on your personalized stationery, whatever that is. If it's Ulysses Cabrera for Mayor Moreno Valley, you can use it as long as it's not done on city stationery or city letterhead, because we don't want it to look like we are actually endorsing our representation of that. Because as Ed said, and he's made this example before. We can't vouch for all of these people, and we also always have to make sure when we're speaking up or we're endorsing something that we're doing it. Like I will say, if someone asks me for an endorsement, like I'm doing this as a such and such person, which is separate from the city of Moreno Valley, and having to make that distinction. And this is trying to help us make that distinction and make it very clear and in writing.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the clarification there. Those were the two questions I had, and I see a hand raised by Councilmember Delgado.
That was from earlier.
Okay. And then a hand raised by Councilmember Banca Santa Cruz.
Regarding the 3 votes to put things on the agenda and correcting it, is that something that we could make an amendment now since this is still the first read? Or do we gotta, yes? Do you have any suggestions on how to?
Actually, I was drafting something here. Oh, yeah, here's where the 3 votes issue should be put. It should be in the rules of procedure under 1.17, city council reports and comments. So I would suggest we amend, the last sentence to read, if at least 3 council members concur, then an item should be added to a future agenda. The item shall be placed on a future agenda for a regular council meeting, a study session, or a special meeting, as may be directed by a majority of the city council. You would also have to do a companion amendment to another rule within the rules of procedure, and that would be the matters requiring 3 votes. And I would suggest we amend that, well, there's actually just one sentence here, to include not only adoption of ordinances and resolutions granting franchises and resolutions amending the general plan and orders or appropriations for payment or expenditure of money, to also include, make sure I read this right, placement of any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council on a future agenda for a regular city council meeting, a study session, or a special meeting. I believe that's the only place where we would be dealing with the issue of 3 votes.
I see another hand raised. Does Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz have any further questions?
So are you making those, then no, go ahead, Ed.
I just want to clarify, Steve. So this ordinance that right now, today, we have 2 and 2. 2 votes for study sessions, 2 votes for council, the regular agenda.
Correct.
Tonight on this, we're going to talk about and vote for 3 for the study sessions. And if we have no more questions, that's it, right?
Correct.
So that's conflicting in my mind. What I did, I looked at all this stuff yesterday or Friday, and this is conflicting. So, right? So I think we should clean this up and be consistent. And if we're violating any city policy on our own doing, then we have to have 3. Because if we're asking the city staff or anybody to use resources and it costs money to do so, we have to have 3 affirmative votes. So I think that's what I'm clearing up today is 3 affirmative votes for anything utilizing city resources.
And Councilman, I just want to caution all of us that we're not in deliberation yet. We're still in questions.
Okay.
Just
clarifying.
So everybody knows. I think I do have another question, but Brian, yes.
Yeah, I would just kind of reiterate, we haven't gone through public testimony yet, so if we could get through that and get into deliberation, I believe that both Steve and I being the compliance director for the city and dealing with policies and procedures, might be able to assist in conversation, but it would be more appropriate after public comment.
Yeah, thank you. And one last question here. On that same topic, actually, and this is more for a city attorney. Could you share with us any case law, court opinions that have set precedent to require that 3 votes are necessary for a city council to add an item to the agenda?
Yeah, not off the top of my head, but I'd like to reference the government code section that Brian was mentioning. That's section 36936, and that provides that orders for the payment of money require a recorded majority vote of the total membership of the city council, which in our case currently would be 3. So I believe what Brian is saying is that to do something different that involves the payment of money would at the very least be inconsistent with this provision of state law. That's what I'm hearing.
Okay, and to further clarify, so even if, let's assume we make a change and from here on out, there would be a requirement for 3 council members to add any items to a regular council meeting, to call for a study session. Even if it's simply making a motion during a regular meeting and then asking for a second, even if it's just copying and pasting verbatim what the two council members said on a future agenda, just writing that sentence, typing it in, that would constitute an expenditure of public funds, and that would violate the government code.
I can answer that from an administrative perspective. It's not as easy as copying and pasting because we don't deal with paper. Everything is dealt
It's
with
electronic,
with
for the most
electronic software, and somebody has to key enter that in. It's not only done by the CM's office. It's then includes the city clerk and council team to develop the agenda, and so you have an approval queue of a particular item that actually would go forward, which would require my approval, Lana's approval, Mike's approval. It just snowballs into administration and administrative burdens. And I'll turn it back over to
And it
Steve
ends up
to-
in minute track.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't want to belabor this conversation. We're going way too long on this one conversation, but I would love to see what other cities, there's over 500 jurisdictions in the state of California. I hope we're not the only one that's violating California government code. Hopefully, there aren't too many cities, but I'm glad we're at least talking about this, and would love to see what other cities, other counties are doing too, and see if this 3-vote requirement is something that is in place across the board all the way in cities and counties up and down California. So I don't have any other questions. Unless there's any other questions from the dais, we can go ahead and move into public comment. Okay, I don't see any further questions. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
Yes, we have 5 requests to speak. The first one is Pete Bleckert, followed by Roy Bleckert and Bob Palomares.
Well, I see. I must have made some changes there because when I was on the planning commission and they decided to get rid of me, same thing, you had your little argument. Nobody wanted to give any, because I was such an irritant, and the person that appointed me was a great teacher for me. And he appointed me, and when he got ousted, I went out the door because Judy and Denise Lanning and a few really did not like me. So they ousted my door. But I found out here not too long ago that one of the people that gave a plaque to me was, I didn't know that you had to have the votes. That's why they weren't going to give a plaque. But that person went out of their way over and above the council and came to the planning commission and presented me and the others that were put out because they, how you guys changed your friends on the planning commission. So that's how that all got started. So that person, which she just lost, they lost their spouse. So that's how I learned about this many, many years later, because Judy Niebuhr, the first hater of this whole town, was out of her way to make damn sure she wasn't going to give me or Ray Tanner, which was kind of half-assed principal that whipped on me and had a lot of fun with him. And he appointed me to the planning commission. And the hate was up there, started Council 1. We ain't got no bit further ahead than we are now. Why you have to have 3 votes to give somebody their plaques to leave the planning commission or wherever, anything you're going to do, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, these people out here are paying your salary so you can sit up there and tell everybody else what the hell to do. So, it's really sad that we're back to this thing again. That's why probably after that just 2 people could get something on the agenda. But that person had to go out of her way to go all the way over to the planning commission without no help from the other 4 on the city council, because they hated Ray Tanner real bad, and they hated me because Ray Tanner put me on there. I'm the only one that's been there from grade school teacher to get on the planning commission and get a board of education from him many, many times because I sassed him a lot. I was not doing this before. I was doing that in grade school. And that was way back, way long time ago. So if that's the way you want to be and show your hate up there, keep it up. You know, Moron Valley, you keep it up, you keep the name going all the time, Moron Valley. Because you don't get along, you've never got along, I can see it going on again. So if that's the way you want to be, go ahead. We watched it when they did it to
Thank you.
The next speakers are Roy Bleckard, followed by Bob Palomares and David Zeitz.
Leave it to the city of Moreno Valley to take any issue and confuse it beyond any understanding. What Pete's saying is what you're doing is exactly what you undid a couple 6 months ago. There is no way. And tell me, we're putting things on the agenda. We're not voting on any money. I want to hear the minority voice. All across the board, study session agenda items. If a council member wants an agenda item on and another member seconds it, I and the public deserve to hear it. If we're going to go that it takes a majority to put something on the agenda, then why are we even having these meetings? It's astounding of what we're doing. What you're doing is saying exactly what this country was. You're going against what this country was founded on. This country was founded on the minority, to protect the minority's opinion, person's rights. So the majority, the democracy doesn't rule. Democracy rule doesn't run them over. That's exactly what you're doing. You know the study session you're talking about? You did this. You scheduled it exactly against public meetings that we had to do that got votes that actually count. So we couldn't come up here and comment. Your rules and procedures that this council comes up with suck. You're putting the staff and the city attorney that has to try and untangle the web you're making. That's where the problem is. It personifies through this whole city. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter discussing the rest of it. If you want to come up with a convoluted reasoning, I want to see where the law says. I've been up in the second story many times. I watched this agenda go down. We had a point where either the mayor or the city manager could put on one vote, put things on the agenda. And listen, I didn't hear that this law says, and this city did, and case precedent says, you have to have three votes, a majority of the body. Now I agree, once you get to the vote, I agree with the law. 3 votes. When it comes to a vote, 3 votes of the council. That means 3 out of 5. I'm even more confused every time I walk in these buildings. It drives everybody nuts.
The next speaker is Bob Palomares, followed by David Zeitz, followed by Chris Baca.
Good evening again. Dysfunctional, but you inherited a lot of this dysfunction, responsibilities, duties, and disruption. We have a council member here that's in litigation over absenteeism because we didn't have the policy working every time he missed. And he's entitled to his legal representation and to go to court and all that. But if I were him, I'd expedite it because he's innocent, supposedly. But the AG has a different opinion of that. There's a case in Huntington Park exactly like his, and she's gone. But, I agree with Delgado about the 3, having them, and that's all I can say about that because you know more about that. But what I'm saying is the dysfunction that's been going on, and sometimes it wants to continue in actions that either the mayor takes because, he's the one that can do a lot of this disruption. So I don't know, you know, we're sitting here waiting on a decision while the tilt is going. You know, how much money are we going to spend if he has found that he's in the wrong? Are we going to be reimbursed for that problem? Maybe we need an ordinance. You know, we can't force anybody to do anything because they're voted in. You know, we can't tell them you have to leave. But maybe you need a policy where you say if you're found to be at fault, restitution is in place. So I hope, you know, you take it to heart when you talk about all of these things. I mean, 3 votes is great, but there's bigger fish that are frying right now. Thank you.
The next 2 speakers are David Zeitz, followed by Christopher Baca.
Good evening. My name is David Zeitz. I speak as my own private, not part of the Planning Commission. I do believe going to 3 votes is not a good idea to bring things into or to your view. Basically, you're already asking for a majority on something that you guys have not discussed. And you shouldn't be discussing more than 2 of you at a time, because I do believe that might be a Brown Act violation if 3 of you discuss something to put it on the agenda. So I'm thinking we still need to leave it at 2. That way we stay out of the Brown Act problem. And then that also allows people that are on the fence, whether they like this or not to commit themselves until they actually hear all the public testimony and all the ideas and everything and why this should be in there. It's pretty simple. It's been working. Now, if it goes against our city policy, don't change the voting, change the city policy. So then the voting could be allowed. Thank you.
And the final speaker is Christopher Baca.
Good evening, community, staff, and elected officials. I'm here on behalf of myself. My comments are my own, not influenced by anybody. I think it's a great idea to have the 3 individuals approve something such as proclamations and so forth given by the city, because that majority represents the majority of our city. For instance, I believe recently there was a proclamation by our mayor given to Assembly Member Corey Jackson, and that is not what the city would probably approve, or anything that reflects our city as commending Corey Jackson. Corey Jackson is really not an individual that should be commended by our city. He represents what's really wrong with our state. It's what's wrong with our community, such as handing out needles, handing out crack pipes, handing out all these items, you know, keeping our city from being cleared up of vagrancy and crime and cutting law enforcement. That's what Corey Jackson does, yet our mayor gave him a proclamation that our city appreciates him. No, our city does not appreciate Corey Jackson. Corey Jackson needs to go. So please, I totally appreciate what you're doing here, because we cannot allow one certain individual to commend an individual that's bad for our city. Thank you.
One final speaker, Luis Palomares.
Luis Palomares, community activist. Wow, Cabrera's worried about this because he's not going to be able to get Marcus to second everything he wants to do, because he uses so much time and wastes, you know. And as far as money, the Christmas cards, who paid for that one? Who paid out for your personal Christmas cards out to the different, you know, cities that you sent? This is why we're here now, because this is what you do. This is what you're doing. Maybe we need 2 votes before, but with you behind the wheel right there, we do need 3 votes, because we don't know what you're going to do next. In our behalf of the community and the taxpayer, not in your behalf, not for your best interest, not for your personal agenda. It's all about your personal agenda. So, like I said, we got to mayor drunk with power here. And, you know, you got to put the brakes on this guy right here, Mayor Cabrera, because he likes to break the rules as he goes along, and then he tries to clean it up and spin it and explain it away. You know, it's out of control here. And that's why I feel that we need, I think the staff knows what they're doing. If they, whatever they're going to do, however, which way it's going to go here, that we're not going to be all tangled up. We're all tangled up right now. That's where we're at, and we're in tangled up lane here, you know. Get back in your lane, Cabrera. You know, you're all over the freeway here. You're on every lane. I feel like I'm in a chase here sometimes because we don't know what you're going to do next or what you're going to put on the agenda or what you're going to, it's all your personal stuff, a lot of it. It's sad. You know, are you worried about daddy's going to take the keys away? You know, the little pink car, the Cadillac? No, that's not going to happen. You're just going to have to be more, how would I say? The word I want to use, I better be careful here. Transparent. Transparent's the word. You know, we don't get enough transparency out of you. And like at the end, when you give your closing comments and your speech, and I'm going to clean it up and I'm going to explain it my way, and you're all going to have to listen to this, and we're going to go on for 5 minutes and 10 minutes. People are tired of hearing you. Clean it up, fix it up, turn it this way, spin it that way. I'm going to call you the spin doctor because that's what you do up here. You spin it all, and let's see what you're going to do at the end of me. Mark my words, you will. Mark my words. And Marcus says he didn't appreciate what one of the speakers said. Well, I don't appreciate you going over the budget when you're spending on all these, when you go out and spend over the money you're supposed to spend. I hope you're going to take care of that bill, not the taxpayer of Moreno Valley. That's what offends me, and I don't appreciate that, Marcus.
That concludes public comment, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. That brings us now into council deliberation if desired. Would any council members like to make any comments or deliberation? First up, we have Councilmember Delgado.
So I bring this up because I read that we were in conflict with our own policy. So as of today, we are in conflict with our own policy. So I would just like to clean it up. So yes, this did turn into something bigger than I ever imagined because I thought it was, well, if we're in conflict, let's fix it and move on. That's what I thought. So we need to fix it. And what's fix is that be consistent, and it takes the majority to follow our policy, then it takes the majority to follow our policy.
Thank you. A question, you mentioned that you read that we were in violation of our own policy. Where did you read that?
Well, it wasn't that I read that we were in violation. We knew that we have to get 3 affirmative votes to spend any monies. And that's a given because that's what 3 votes are for. Right? You changed it from 2 to 3 before.
Yeah, and then whenever, just going back, since we're going back down memory lane here, the former mayor, all of us here voted to change it to 3. It was 3. And then last year, all of us here agreed to change it to 2.
Correct.
We had the same city attorney, but for some reason now we're rehashing this again. So just wanted to get some clarification.
Clarification is if it takes 3 affirmative votes to spend city resources, and that's on me. I'm the one that said 2 votes. So I told staff earlier that I think I messed up, but I recommended that we do 2 votes. Well, I'm reading that it takes 3 affirmative votes to spend money, and I come to the conclusion that we are spending money when 2 of us ask city staff to do something, or we direct them to do something that's using city resources that didn't take 3. So if we decide not to clean it up, then we decide not to clean it up. But I'm going to motion that we change 3.3.2 to require 3 affirmative votes for regular agenda items and study session items.
Okay. Would any other council members like to make any comments or make any deliberation? Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Bernard.
So I'm fine with the 3-vote requirement for agenda items. For study sessions, though, that's where we're supposed to go look at things, deliberate on things. So for me, the study session is a hard one, just because there are some times that there are conversations that need to happen. And like we've had speakers discuss, the majority is a 3-vote, but we're also talking about trying to hear the minority vote too. So for me, I can compromise on the agenda item, but when it comes to the study session, I look at it from, there are things that members of my district have requested. There may be some conversations that have happened with members of my district along with the mayor that they would like to see done as study sessions. So I think that's why for me, this and placement of any item within the future city council for future study session agenda, I'm like, study sessions, we're not always necessarily making a policy decision. We're trying to come to some understanding or maybe help like develop some policy at some point. But these are some things that a lot of these study sessions are things that members of my community have come out and said, hey, we want to know more about this. We have more conversations we want to have about this. So that's my only issue with that 3-vote. I understand what everyone's saying by having city staff research it, because the city staff, but if we go there, honestly, anything we ask city staff to do at any given time is them spending money, whether that's me sending an email quickly to city manager and saying, hey, I have a question about such and such. Technically, he's now spending time and that's city money being directed at whatever that question is. So I understand the 3-vote majority, but I think on a study session, that's a hard no for me.
Mayor, with your approval, I know we're in council deliberation, but council deliberation also covers further questions and comments. If you wouldn't mind, I do have a response to Mayor Pro Tem.
Sure thing.
Okay. Regarding study session, Mayor Pro Tem, the city manager's office is at the forefront of the study sessions that come before you. And so we, the three of us, actually discuss what is pertinent to any given month, what are residents discussing in public comment, what are council members discussing in your closing comments within the items itself. We take a lot of notes and we take a lot of deliberation after the meeting the following day, and we come up with what should we be bringing back in study session. So the city manager's office does have the ability within study sessions to bring items forward. So if it is something that is needed, we could take a look from a city manager's perspective, placing something on the study session as opposed to it coming from the dais. But we're taking a look at it from a perspective, does it make sense? Does it require additional study? Is the topic pertinent to the current conversations that are occurring either at the podium or the dais?
Thank you for that, Brian. And, on that note, I want to remind everybody that, at the last meeting, Mayor Pro Tem and I, it was just two of us that proposed adding an item to an upcoming council meeting to have a discussion, just to talk about forming a homeless task force. This item that we're deliberating right now was added by two council members, only two council members, Councilmember Delgado and Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz. There was no third vote. So, like I mentioned earlier, and I see your hand raised, I'll get to you in just a second. I strongly believe that this argument about requiring 3 votes to spend any funds, kind of like Mayor Pro Tem alluded to just now, I think it's being taken way out of context. I think it's taken out of context of what the law actually says, which my understanding is that the law says allocating funds. If there's an item on the agenda where we're asking for approval for $50,000 to fund something or $1 million to build a new skate park or something, that, yes, 3 votes, absolutely. But I think this argument of requiring 3 votes to add an item to agenda I disagree with it. And I think it's being taken out of context. And again, we're only talking about this because 2 council members wanted to put this on the agenda. So another one of my concerns is that if we go down this road of requiring 3 votes to add anything to, requiring 3 votes to simply have a conversation, we're disenfranchising thousands of people in the community. We're silencing constituents from our own council districts. And my question would be, it just looks really bad. It looks really bad if we require 3 votes to add anything to the agenda, because you're effectively shutting down the conversation. You're not allowing for that public discourse, for the deliberation to take place in the public arena. That's what a democratic republic is all about. And I think we're moving in a very dangerous direction if we do that. I mean, at least at a minimum, even if you don't like it, I mean, I don't fully agree with all the recommendations, but at least I want to hear about it, So having the minimum requirement of only 2 council members allowed for us to have this conversation. So I just want to be very careful with going down this slippery slope and opening this can of worms, but I'll pause there. Councilmember Delgado.
And Mayor, if I might add, the governmental code 36936 states orders of payment of money, and it's not allocation of resources, it's orders of payment of money, and we are paid on a monthly or bi-weekly basis, so.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to tell you that I'm just the first thought that came to my, that's crazy. That you literally just sat here and said, when we're talking about money, we're paid on a bi-weekly, so we can't even bring it forward because that's what they meant of allocation of funds. That's not what they meant when they were talking about allocation of funds. And so now we're really going to dig into history, because I remember when there was an issue of a council member that was up here, and 2 people were up here, and they were trying to appoint somebody after MPT passed away. And the first issue that everyone kept bringing up was, well, wait a minute, you need 3 votes because it's an allocation of funds. And nope, we don't. So that again tells me, though, that means that anytime I send any of you an email, anybody on city staff an email, that means we're consuming city staff time, which is because you're paid bi-weekly, is meaning that we're allocating funds. So we need to then have a majority vote about any email that we send. That's exactly what you're saying now. That's insane, and that is not what that statute contends, and that's not what that means.
If I may interject, at that time, I think I was here, city attorney was here, and actually at that time, and a previous city clerk was here, that issue was raised, and the city attorney advised the council at that time that that was not proper. And so we went through, let's just say, lawsuits on that, and things were unwind. But at that time, if we're going to go back in history, that was actually disclosed. At that time, we believe it was improper. So.
And hand raised here by Councilmember.
And let me just add, right now, we have an obligation as staff, with city attorney and also the ACM on the finance side, to disclose to you that, yes, we apologize, we found this out late, but we have an obligation, staff, to disclose to you that under California Government Code, we believe there's a conflict. And right now, it is your decision whether or not you want to address the conflict or not. And that's all we're putting on the table right now.
We have a hand raised by Councilmember Delgado.
Okay, thank you. So I've heard the guys in the well that know or that are representing us in a different capacity than the electeds. The guys in the well and the folks in the well are looking at government codes. They're looking out for our city's best interest. The city attorney is telling us this is looking out for our best interest. The finance director is telling us this is looking out for our best interest. So I too love to hear my constituents' concerns, but I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about silencing them or not hearing the minority. What I'm talking about is following the government code. If we want to change the government code, then change the government code or the city ordinance or whatever it is. As of right now, we have to follow what they're saying. So this was super simple for me coming into this. I did not. We're 32 minutes on this topic. I did not expect this. I thought I was going to bring something to light where you guys would say, oh, wow, I didn't realize there was a conflict. And we fix it and we move on. But we need to follow the law or follow the ordinance or follow the government code 39936 and move forward. And if we don't, if we all agree that the majority of us vote that we don't, then we don't.
Yeah, and I just want to respond briefly to ACM and CM's comments there in response to Mayor Pro Tem that, because there was a few examples that were used there. One of them was the appointment situation that took place, which didn't even go to court because it was resolved through a cure and correct. So we really don't know, what the court would have said or what a judge would have said. But I'll go back to the example of an email. I also think that that's a really absurd argument that if I send an email to open a CRM, which we all do, we open CRMs to address homeless encampments that are on the freeway, to address code violations, to address community concerns, potholes. If I send an email to open a CRM, you cannot open a CRM, is what you're saying, because you're using staff resources and time because you're paid every 2 weeks. It's just a really absurd argument. So I definitely am opposed to moving in that direction on that particular point, without doing any additional research, without going back and really looking deep into case law and the government code. And also, I'll ask another question, probably for our city attorney. Have any cities, just in California, not even the whole country, have any cities in California, cities or counties, been sued successfully because they only required 2 votes to add an item to an agenda?
I don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head because I've never run into that situation. So you have to research it.
Okay. So definitely, I just think there's questions that need to be asked. And you know what? I just want to apologize to the public that we're even having this long of a discussion on this, because we've spent maybe 35 minutes that we could have been talking about homelessness, we could have been talking about crime in the city, but we're here talking politics and policies.
Not politics, it's policies. These are government codes are not policy or politics.
You want to turn your mic on?
I just disagree with you that we're not talking politics. If we come up here with something that we want to address, doesn't make it political. It makes it addressing the city standards or the city ordinances or something like that. Doesn't mean it's political. So I don't take it political. I personally do not take this conversation or these discussions that we talk about that are in our government codes, bylaws, or ordinances political. It's absolutely not. So let me ask you, you voted to from 2 to 3. You said it tonight. Why? Was it a good idea then, but it's not a good idea now?
Yeah, and I'll tell you that just like you've said that you've made mistakes in the past, I've made my mistakes as well, right? I'm big enough to admit that. And at the time, because I was here and I voted for that, again, this was a mistake and it shouldn't have happened. But the main reason why there was a push to require 3 votes was to shut out a minority on the council.
That is not what I'm doing.
But you're asking me the question? Right. I'm telling you that that's what happened back in the day. The main point of requiring 3 votes was to prohibit 2 council members, to prevent 2 council members on the dais from allowing a discussion on something, and that was wrong. That's why I voted to change that, and that's why I'm against increasing it to 3 votes again.
Since you're admitting things that were wrong, was the appointment wrong?
I've already
was the appointment wrong?
That's out of order.
Was it wrong?
That's out of order.
Are there any further comments on this
Stop telling people that
particular
you've apologized and accepted that it was wrong, because you haven't. You have not apologized. You never said it was wrong.
He did.
No, you
He
haven't.
apologized.
Not to me.
Up here. So I'd like to make a motion. Can I make a motion now? Is that where we're at?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we accept all the changes in the current staff report that city attorney did, except for 3.3.2, which adds that it takes 3 affirmative votes for study sessions and regular agenda items. That's my motion. So to accept all changes on the current proposed mayor's duties and companion ordinance and resolution changes, the scope of mayor's and council members' roles, duties, and responsibilities that the city attorney proposed, with the addition to having the majority of the council vote for or place something on the agenda, regular agenda, or a study session. That's my motion.
Special meetings too.
And special meetings to that. Thank you. If we vote for it, we vote for it. If we don't, we're going to move on.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Just before we vote, want to briefly comment that I just found out that the city of Riverside and city of Paris only require one council member to add an item to an agenda. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So, please vote. Madam Clerk, would you like to report
Voice
the
vote
vote?
for the.
Yes. Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz,
Yes.
Councilmember Delgado,
Yes.
Councilmember Marcus,
Abstain.
Mayor Pro Tem Bernard,
No.
and Mayor Cabrera.
No. And Madam Clerk, would you like to report the vote? If not, I could help out
Okay,
here.
so there's 2 noes and 2 yeses and 1 abstention. So the motion fails.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, is there going to be any suggested action on the remaining provisions? Because this one contained the 3 votes for adding items to a future agenda.
So what you're asking is, can we go back to the original?
Correct.
Yes.
And the original would be what we already had in place?
No, the original is all the changes I suggested, but it does not include a majority vote for.
Basically,
adding
the city attorney is looking to accept the recommendations.
As they are on the agenda.
I motion to accept the recommendations as presented in the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay. There's a motion and a second.
Okay, Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz,
Yes.
Councilmember Delgado,
Yes.
Councilmember Marcus. Pardon?
He is abstaining.
Abstain?
Abstain.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Bernard
Yes.
and Mayor Cabrera.
I abstain. Okay. So the motion passes with 3 yeses and 2 abstentions. And if we could just have
we didn't
the
do a
vote
computer
on the
vote.
screen.
That's not the vote.
Yeah, that's not the correct vote.
That's the
Could we-
first motion.
Could we have the vote on the screen just so we can
Oh, yeah.
make sure that that's clear?
Okay, one moment.
Okay, please vote. Okay, and once again, that motion passes with 3 yeses and 2 abstentions. So that brings us next to item K3 on the agenda, which is the city clerk's annual salary adjustment, and we have a report from the city attorney.
This will only take 45 minutes. So at the last city council meeting, which again was February 6th, the city council offered the city clerk a 5% increase to her annual salary, which she accepted. However, before approving any salary adjustment for one of your executive employees, the California Government Code requires that a public announcement be made regarding what the proposed revisions are. And that announcement has to be made prior to even making a motion. So I'm making that announcement that, again, this involves a 5% increase in the city clerk's annual salary, which is an additional $7,350, which brings her annual salary up to $154,350. So that is that is the recommendation that's based on the offer that was made by the council and the acceptance by the city clerk.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Attorney. And that brings us next to council questions of staff, if desired. Do any council members have any questions for staff? Okay. I don't see any questions. And Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak on this item?
We have one request to speak. Roy Bleckard.
Is Mr. Roy Bleckert here? Okay. For the record, he decided not to speak on this item. Are there any further requests to speak on this item, Madam Clerk?
No, Mayor, that concludes public comment.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So that brings us next to the council deliberation, and we have Councilmember Marquez.
Thank you, Mayor. This is my personal.
I'm sorry, Councilmember, 1 second. Just for point of order, does the city clerk need to leave the room for this conversation?
No.
No? Okay, thank you.
I wanted to hear want her to hear this. Been here for 8 years, and I've been through 4 city clerks. I'm not saying the other 3 were bad. What I'm saying is the one we have now has changed how this city clerk's office operates. I support her 150% what she's done, and I was very glad to vote yes. So Jane, thank you, and hope you stay with us for many, many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, council member.
Alrighty. Is there any further deliberation from the dais? Okay. Seeing none, this time I'll entertain a motion to approve staff's recommendations.
I make a motion.
I second.
Okay, there's a motion by Councilmember Marquez and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Bernard. Please vote. And a voice vote, please.
Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delgado.
Yes.
Councilmember Marcus.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bernard.
Yes.
And Mayor Cabrera.
Yes. And that passes unanimously with 5 yeses. Congratulations. That brings us next to item L on the agenda, which is Regional Commission Committee Board Reports. We have a few tonight. First up, I'll start with Councilmember Delgado. We have one for actually 2. March Joint Powers Commission and the Riverside County Transportation Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, I'm providing an update from the March Joint Powers Commission meeting that was held on Wednesday, February 14th. It was a very busy meeting. We heard an update by the commander of the March Air Reserve Base's 452nd Operation Support Squadron. We approved the 2024 legislative platform and authorized advocacy trips to Washington, D.C. to meet critical Congress and agency representatives. We granted March Life Care, which is the developer there on the March property, a Fifth Amendment to the disposition and development agreement to allow them to complete a new SCE substation by this September. Finally, we approved an amendment to the U.S. Vets program authorizing the development of individual comfort homes on the remaining 3 acres. That concludes my update on the last March Joint Powers Commission meeting that was held on Wednesday, February 14th. The second meeting I will be reporting on is RCTC, Riverside County Transportation Commission. I'm providing updates from the Riverside County Transportation Commission meeting held on February 14th in the morning. The commission heard a presentation on the fiscal year 23-24 mid-year revenue projection report and approved the fiscal year 23-24 mid-year budget expenditure adjustments for a net increase of $1,434,900. The commission also awarded an agreement to HDR Engineering for plans, specifications, and estimates for the Interstate 15 Franklin Street Interchange project. And that concludes my report from the last Riverside County Transportation Commission meeting that was held on Wednesday, February 14th. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have a report for RCHCA from Mayor Pro Tem Bernard.
I Items covered at the RCHCA Board of Directors meeting on February 8th of 2024 included a report of the Stevens Kangaroo Rat mitigation fee collection. As of December 31st, 2023, the City of Moreno Valley collected a total of $25,145 in mitigation fees. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And second to last, report for RTA by Councilmember Marquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, I'm providing an update from RTA Board Administration Operations Committee held on February 7th. The committee heard on the update on the Go Metro Transit pilot program. Since the start of the Go Micro, the average ridership has increased. The goal for RTA was 4.5. The bottom line was 4.7. We exceeded that, and the goal is to reach 5%. Also, the ridership has continuously increased over the past several weeks or months, and I could say is people don't want to pay the high gas prices, take the bus. They appreciate that. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, we have a report for the School District City Joint Task Force from Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz.
Thank you. The Joint Task Force met earlier today. In addition to city representatives from the Moreno Valley Unified School District, California State Parks, Riverside County Board of Supervisors, and Rising Stars Business Academy attended the meeting. Highlights include Moreno Valley Unified invited people to come and join what used to be Principal for a Day is now going to be called Partners in Education. It will be held on February 28th. So if you have some time that day and are willing to join with the school districts, they are looking for volunteers to come on by, as well as their STEAM Unity Expo on March 2nd. So they've invited us to those events. The Riverside County Supervisor's Office is accepting applications for their Community Improvement Designation Grant Program and will soon be accepting applications for their employment opportunities for youth. Rising Stars Business Academy is providing outreach, counseling, crisis intervention, tutoring, and violence intervention through Moreno Valley Youth and Family Preservation Project. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. And that brings us now to item M on the agenda. No Employee Association report tonight. And that brings us to N, the famous city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor, Member City Council. I'm going to keep it very short. Just 2 items tonight. Just a reminder for the residents at home. Our next job fair is February 29th, Thursday, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We have a lot of employers looking for people to hire, so please do come and attend. It is a free event. And also our Multicultural and Art Festival. We're quite excited for this event, March 9th. This is from 1 to 5 p.m. This is going to be at the Civic Center Amphitheater. This is a Saturday event. I think last year, our first one, we had a little bit of rain, but this year, hopefully, we're going to get very nice weather, and we're going to have a lot of attendance this year. So please do come out. Once again, this is another free event, and please do come out and enjoy a lot of the events that are put together by our city staff. That concludes my presentation tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Manager. And that brings us next to council closing comments. And we'll start off with Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz.
My comments are short. I just want to thank everybody who came out to the Beautify Moval last weekend. Nice and cool, enough for us to work. And a lot of groups came out and individuals. So thank you so much for joining us. That's it.
Next up, Councilmember Marquez.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to comment on a couple of things that a couple of speakers, or one in particular, brought up about the mayor and I taking these luxury trips. You know, when they come up here to speak, why don't they say the whole thing, what happened? I mean, they mention our names, but they neglect to mention other people's names. This was my conference for the League of Cities in Monterey. You talk about luxury. Well, Councilmember Delgado was with me, but this individual didn't bring him up. I wonder why. I'm speaking. Thank you. I don't want to interrupt you when you talk. So when you say luxury, the city manager could verify what I have said about luxury, about staying in these hotels. I'll stay in a Motel 6. It don't bother me. But protocol states that we should stay in the hotels that these conferences are to eliminate any type of traveling that we have to do while we're out there. But it's not luxury. We're doing it for the city. And when I go on these conferences, that's all it is, for the city. But I wish that these individuals would bring up everybody who attended conferences, just not the mayor and I. Secondly, recently it's been really bothering me, and I didn't want to bring this up, but I promised my daughter I would. She received a call several weeks ago, and she called me hysterical, telling me that she got a phone call from a relative of mine, that he got a call from one of my colleagues up here for them, my family members, to come out here and attack me on this dais and mention to my daughter that I better watch it, what I'm saying up here. What's wrong with this ethic thing we go through here? But to call my daughter, my family, and threaten her because someone up here on this dais makes a phone call that they should come out here and attack me? This is ludicrous. This is outrageous. So if this individual has a problem, come up and talk to me about it. Don't call my family and threaten them over the phone. And I want to say thanks to the staff who've been doing a great job. Again, Jane, keep up the good work. Mike, keep up the good work. Brian, staff, Sean, everybody. I don't care what these speakers come up here and criticize you guys. You guys are doing a fine job, and keep it up. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Councilmember Delgado.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I agree with Councilmember Marquez. You guys are doing a great job, everybody. And Jeremy's going to be very busy here coming up with the spring-tastic and the eggs and all that. So good luck, brother. You got this. I attended the Student of the Month at March Air Museum last Wednesday, and it was really, really cool because there was a couple kids in there that really showed determination and drive from where they were and to where they are now. And they're heading off to college. One kid got four scholarship offers to major universities because of the way he turned himself around. So it was really cool. In that roundup article that individual from the Mother Language Committee was talking about is in the Sunnymead Ranch. Every month they publish a roundup just about what's going on in the Sunnymead Ranch, and they asked me to write a short, brief, half-page article. So I do every other month. I told them every month is a lot because I run out of things to talk about, but every other month I add some stuff in there, and it's all city-related stuff and how it affects not only them in the ranch but the entire city. So they appreciate it. So that's what he was talking about. And just be kind to one another. I know that sometimes we get up here and we have our debates, and it doesn't seem like we're cordial, but believe it or not, we are. And we can be cordial. We can agree to disagree. And not everything that we bring to this dais is political. It's business. And we are running you guys are running a business, and this business is a multi-million-dollar big machine, huge machine. And we're just part of that. And I understand that it's a business. And just because we are elected officials does not mean that everything we bring up or discuss is political. And if I hope you guys don't think that everything that we bring to you is because it's political, because it's not. It's business. And we are running a business. And I'm proud that we're a part of this business that we're running, and it's called the City of Moreno Valley. So thank you for you guys. Thank you for what you do. I know it's not, even the HR guy is like, oh my God, here we go again, but yes, it's business. So hopefully you get used to it. Thanks.
Next up, Mayor Pro Tem Bernard.
I too want to reiterate what everyone's saying. The staff does a very wonderful job, and just like Councilmember Delgado says, you will see spirited discussions up here. That does not mean that we don't get along. It just means we're having discussions that are healthy and normal. I did have an exchange with my ACM, but he knows I love him. He's my favorite, and he's been my favorite since I got here. So I just want to get off by saying that. Also, I did attend the Black History event that was held by Moreno Valley Unified, and it was a good event, a nice event. There was a group called Schoolyard Rap that came out, and we saw a lot of the student performers, so that was fun. And that's how we are going to close out Black History Month. But again, I thank everybody for coming out tonight. I also always thank my fellow colleagues up here for having a spirited discussion, because I know sometimes people think we are just yes people, but as you can see, we were having a discussion, and sometimes having a discussions with 5 different personalities and opinions can get a little heated. And with that, I want to say thank you, good night, and Jeremy, I can't wait. I just cannot wait. I have my flashlight, because I'm not going out there, but I want to see it. So I have my flashlight available, because you can see nothing in a zombie apocalypse without it.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And just a couple things here in closing. Beautify Mobile, well done again to staff. We're able to beautify 2 parks as we do every quarter, and plant a couple trees, which is great. Also, last week, the Inland Empire Division of the League of California Cities had their first ever joint meeting between the Riverside County and San Bernardino County elected officials in San Bernardino, in the city of San Bernardino. So that was a really, really great time. City manager, ACM were there as well. And there was a brief discussion from both county CEOs, Jeff Van Wagenen, and I can't remember his name at the moment, but the San Bernardino County CEO. We're talking about various topics like industrial development and the future of that, talking about homelessness and things of that nature. So really, really great discussion. And we had the leadership come down from the League of Cities as well. So really, really good event there. This Wednesday, the BERC, the Business and Employment Resource Center, is having a workshop called Access to Capital. And I just want to shout this one out because as you all know, entrepreneurship and startups and things of that nature are a very big passion of mine. And the BERC is doing tremendous work to educate and provide these resources for small business owners and entrepreneurs. And these are all completely free. So if anybody's watching, anybody out there, if either you or one of your family members or neighbors or a friend has an idea, or maybe they already have a business and they're trying to learn different funding mechanisms of how to get capital to scale their businesses or expand their operations, or maybe even just start their business from the get-go, this is a great opportunity. So again, that's Access to Capital workshop happening this Wednesday, tomorrow at 9 a.m., both virtual and in person, and that's out of the Business and Employment Resource Center here in Moreno Valley. La Carniceria ribbon cutting is happening on Thursday over in District 4, so would invite everybody to join us for that. Also, I briefly mentioned it, and I'm not ready to make a motion on it yet. I still need to do a little bit more work, but I want to just reiterate it again that right now there is a little bit of work being done to try to bring the city's first museum here to the city of Moreno Valley. Nothing official being done yet. It's really preliminary and conceptual, but that's kind of one of my dreams now. And I think I've heard it from a lot of residents that not only do they want more things to do, but our median age in Moreno Valley is 34, 35 years old. And, 1 or 2 children, we need more things for our kids to do. And it's about time that Moreno Valley has our own museum. So just something I'm working on, and would love to have those conversations in the future very soon with the rest of the council as well. Second to last, shout out to all of staff, but especially to PD and fire, because last year, 2023, crime was down in Moreno Valley, violent and non-violent crime. During a time when crime is going up in California, crime is going up across the country, Moreno Valley is an outlier. We're going in the opposite direction. We're becoming a safer city, and that's because of our first responders and our public safety personnel. So can we give them a big round of applause, please? I know the chief is not here, but please thank him for me. And Absolutely. Team effort, team effort. And last but not least, actually, you know what? I'll just leave it there. I hope you all had a happy Valentine's Day, and we'll see you at the next meeting. Have a good night.